Hey folks, one quick word. Stick around after the credits because we have a fun bonus segment. It's actually a bonus segment that aired earlier this year. It was part of our Star Wars Special Part 2, where we talked about whether or not Star Wars is science fiction or fantasy. And it's my full discussion with JD and Yolanda about Star Wars fan theories and a bunch of other stuff. Lots of fun, lots of great insight. Naturally, there will be spoilers for that, so it assumes you've seen Star Wars The Force Awakens. I mean, and come on. It's made, close to $2 billion, if not more. I'm sure you've seen it by now. All right? That's it. Enjoy the show.
Jin, whatever I do it to protect you. So you understand?
I understand.
As of this recording, the very first standalone Star Wars story that is not part of the Skywalker saga premiered this past weekend to over $150 million in domestic box office. That has helped Lucasfilm owner Disney go on to set a new record for global box office at over $7 billion. This entry into the Star Wars universe is new territory for Lucasfilm. Not only is it the first standalone film not connected to the Skywalkers, it's also the first film that will not have any kind of predetermined sequel. And like last year's Force Awakens, at the center of the story is a strong woman, Jyn Erso, played by Felicity Jones.
If my father built this thing, we need to find him.
All right. How many do I need?
Star Wars has had a great record of having strong female leads. And with this being the week after Rogue One's release, I thought it would be fun to have a Breaking the Glass bonus episode to discuss Star Wars female leads. Joining me will be Breaking the Glass co-producer and Radio Film School show regular Yolanda Cochran, with her hubby JD along for the ride. This will most likely be the last first-run Radio Film School episode of 2016. I want to thank all of you who've supported the show this past year. It's been quite a ride. And I'm really excited for what I have planned for 2017, including more cinema history-related episodes, some fictional narratives, guest producer spots, including a great one from ex-No Film School writer and filmmakers process creator Robert Hardy, and we may even have a possible collaboration geared towards photographers that do video. With respect to the Breaking the Glass series, we still have plenty of new audio episodes to bring you, as well as 3 more entries from the film series. Lastly, if you happen to be a fan of Westworld, check out our irreverently funny yet insightful podcast that looks at the show from an ethnic point of view. It's called Wrestling with Westworld. It's unlike any other Westworld podcast out there. I like to describe it as the Westworld podcast that Samuel L. Jackson would love. You can get it on iTunes or listen at daredreamer.fm/westworldpod. So be on the lookout for new and engaging content in 2017. All of it will be done in the storytelling and radio documentary style production value that has been the Radio Film School signature. If for some reason you haven't already done so, be sure to subscribe in iTunes or wherever you like to listen to podcasts. Alright, without further ado, here's my fun conversation with Yolanda and JD about female leads in Star Wars and whether the series has a good record at passing the Bechdel Test. All right, so there are 2 things I wanted to ask you, get your opinion on. One, I wanted to know your thoughts on female leads in Star Wars films. Like, I feel like in general, the Star Wars stories have been good at having strong female characters, and so what I want to know. Like,
are you saying all of them or the recent ones?
I would say all of them. I mean, even going back, episode 4, Princess Leia is pretty badass in terms of, how she handles herself.
Yep.
There's the whole bikini thing from Return of the Jedi, but even in a bikini, she's the one who kills, Jabba the Hutt. And
yeah, I push back on that a little bit because I don't think that's that bad.
What's that bad?
The bikini?
No, I don't either, but I know everyone.
She had a chain around her neck.
Yeah.
In a bikini.
She was chained up by a gangster, like a
yeah.
I mean,
and she used that chain to kill him.
Right. Is she supposed to be in Sunday school?
Right.
Okay. All right.
And then in the prequels, Amidala was a pretty strong character in terms of, shooting around with guns. So you got the impression that that was where Leia got her strength from from Amidala.
Right.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
I find Amidala more egregious than Leia in the bikini at the end when she died of a broken heart.
Whatever.
I'm like, come on, cuz.
Right. You can make that argument.
Yeah.
But, and then obviously Rey from The Force Awakens and then the upcoming Rogue One, the main character seems to be a strong woman. But I don't know how great they are at passing the Bechdel test, which says basically you have to have two female characters who talk to each other and they don't talk about a man. And the whole point and there's a lot of controversy about the test, but the whole point of the test is to say that there are so few movies that have a depth of female characters that this test was created just to see can you have a movie where there are two women who talk to each other and they aren't talking about a man? And so,
What?
well, yeah,
I don't get it. I don't.
That the subject matter isn't about, my boifriend or my husband.
No, I understand that, but I don't get how you could ever make a movie without two women doing that. That's crazy.
Ha 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 ha.
That's right.
So, why make a movie with
That was so bad that when you have to explain it.
Right. I think you got
funny.
it. All right. So first, your thought on the strength of female characters in the Star Wars. Would you agree with my assessment that Star Wars has been pretty good at showing strong female characters?
I do totally agree with that. Yeah. And particularly these most recent ones, which is great. And what I love about The Force Awakens and what seems to be the upcoming Rogue One is that it seems so organic. Like, yes, it's like a major thing that this, was arguably, the biggest movie franchise in history. It's a big thing that this most recent installment in Force Awakens, the most recent that's been released, had a female lead. That's a major situation. But even having said that, it was so kind of like not notable in that it just felt so unremarkable.
Organic.
It was very organic, just like what JD just said, and I love that, and I think it speaks so much to how easy it could actually be if people would just make the decision that we are going to include everybody, and it's not going to be that big a deal because everybody's included in real life, and so it doesn't have to be a big deal. It just has to reflect what is real life, and it doesn't have to be this big thing. But it was so badass, and there's no situation where, unfortunately, there was this whole situation where they didn't have any Rey toys because supposedly little boys weren't going to want to play with little, with girl action figures, female action figures.
But girls would want to play with them.
Or it just doesn't matter. Like, no, there were no boys who were like, oh, I don't want to see that, or that sucked because it was a female, and blah, blah. I mean, nobody cared. They loved the movie. Like, right. It's like, and so that argument, in my mind, is, I think there's something to be said, and maybe it has to do with the marketing of it and the conditioning of boys and whatever and blah, 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 and whether or not they would have played with a female action figure or whatever. But there was none whatsoever discussion about, well, I kind of didn't really dig that because it was, the lead was a female. I mean, of course you have naysayers out there for everything, but universally the movie was loved, and it wasn't because or in spite of the fact that it was a female lead.
I would say this, just in terms of the toys, not to defend, this is not a defense of
Disney?
Of them not of Disney or whoever, Kenner or the folks not releasing the Rey doll, but I think a lot of it also deals with our culture and how far we've evolved. Because it's not even just women. I remember the first Star Wars. I don't even think there was a black person in the first Star Wars. Because I remember seeing Empire getting jazzed with Billy Dee was in it.
Right.
And I think there might have been a black pilot or something.
And that was totally organic.
Yeah, but it was It was totally organic, but it was also
But it was
I
huge.
remember as a kid, like,
Yeah.
oh, they got a brother in here. Oh man, you know,
Yeah,
because I remember watching the Star Wars and being like, dang, they don't have. It wasn't even like a white or black thing. I was like, wow, it's just not. Space is nothing but English people. It's like I remember thinking that because they all had the accents where I'm like, man, this like.
It really, really does not have to be a big deal, and it doesn't have to be like, oh, like, you know, we're doing this, but you know, it's literally like, you know, you sent me the article about Lucasfilm having 50% female executives, and I can't remember what I was listening to. I was listening to a podcast or reading something, and I think it was, you know, they were on the topic of like, okay, what steps can we do? What actionable items can we do to solve, you know, disparity in the ranks of, you know, the workforce in higher level positions? And one of the men said, well, why don't we just do it? Like, just hire, just do it. And like literally,
That was
for whatever
JJ,
reason, it might have been. I
It's
think
J.J.
it was
Abrams.
J.J.
He's just
Abrams.
like, no, we're just gonna do
somebody
this.
was like, yeah, just do it. Just hire that many. Just do it. And so it didn't need to be this whole huge. Okay, we're doing this undertaking.
we got to do studies to see.
Yeah, we got to
like,
do studies, and we got to like write down all these rules, and it's just literally like, no, let's just hire 50%. And it's like literally, and then they commented on the fact that coincidentally, you know, that these two films back to back have female leads, and it's organic. It wasn't like they set out to make the leads female. It's just what came out of it.
Right. And then what I was going to say before we get off track with the whole doll thing, I remember when they did Star Wars, though, however, and they did Empire back when they had the first set. And I even want to say, I'm not sure if I know it was with the first trilogy, but then I don't know if it was with the prequels as well. But they did Leia's and they did the girl doll toys and they didn't sell. And so they got burned on that before, and they were some of it is just obviously just chauvinistic, but another correlation was that when they've tried to sell them before in the past, they didn't sell. And I think that also speaks to our culture changing where, you know, like I remember, you know, when I was a kid, you were, you know, boys play with boy toys and girls play with girl toys. And that was a lot stronger.
That
where
probably
now,
had a lot to do with mothers not buying action figures for their boys and not necessarily thinking their girls wanted any action figures for Star Wars.
And
which
when you look at stuff like Dora the Explorer, it's like, you know, I could see a little boy playing with Dora the Explorer not thinking he's a little girl because he's playing with a girl doll. It's like she's a cool main character of a show, and it has nothing really to do with her sexual, you know, sex, and she's not running around on a dress like doing girly things. She's, you know, doing whatever she does, and it's just she's just that kind of androgynous character doing things. And so I think there are a lot more instances of that now in our culture. And even Rey, you know, Rey is, even though there's like, you know, that flirtation between Rey and Finn, slight flirtation. It's like,
well, from
Rey, she's a badass.
I mean, from Finn.
But getting back to
I'm just saying though.
Getting back to Star Wars and the female characters though, it's like it's back to my point. It's almost like it's not even notable or remarkable because it's so organic. Like it just is.
Right.
Which is awesome.
And look at, like, I would say this, think about how weird it's going to be when you look at Rogue One. Just from the trailers, all the multi-ethnic casting they got going on, and then you go to Star Wars. It's nothing but English Queen speaking, you know, like, you know, Grand Moff Tarkin, and all the generals are white. There's no people of color anywhere to be seen in Star Wars. But then you look at Rogue One, it's like, wow, what happened to, you know?
Because all the people of color are doing the work and getting shot and killed.
Right. It's the Death Ethnic Star. It just blew up not only planets, but all ethnicities other than white.
Right. Do any of the Star Wars films pass the Bechdel test?
I thought
The Force
Awakens does.
And in what scene?
Was when they don't really talk that much, but Leia and Rey when.
And how about
how do Leia and Rey talk about Solo?
Han.
Right.
Yeah,
but
it's not in a romantic way.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it's romantic. It just says they talk about something other than a man.
Okay, well Rey and Maz.
Maz is an alien. Does that count?
She's a female alien.
How do you even know?
Because she likes Chewbacca.
That doesn't mean anything. How do you know?
All right, so your argument is that Maz is not a female. That's your argument.
No.
That's what you're arguing right now?
No, my argument.
That's what you're going to plant your flag on?
My argument is.
They have to be two female people speaking to each other.
Humanoids. Because by that extent, hey Ron, guess what? Everybody in the movie is an alien. Show me a United States person or a Earthling in Star Wars. Nobody is.
So you see Maz as this female character?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So all right.
Wait.
I'll give you that.
Oh, here's the other
I'll
question.
give you that.
Wait,
I'll give
Ron.
you that.
Wait, Ron. Let me flip it
refers
on.
to her as her.
Hold on.
too,
Let me
or-
flip.
No,
Let me flip it on you. Let me
No,
flip it on you.
I
Ron.
agree she's
You don't see her as a female.
Yeah, no, I agree she's a female. I guess I don't.
All right then.
All right, I'll give you Force Awakens. How about the other movies? Are there any other Star Wars movies where a woman talks to another woman about something?
We have oh God, don't forget Moth Monra. When they're getting ready to attack the second Death Star in Jedi, I believe isn't Leia there? Leia's there with her, and they're all strategizing about how they're going to attack.
But she doesn't talk to Moth.
Oh, you're saying it has to be a private room where there's
No, they have to talk to each other.
A direct interaction.
Right. Two women are interacting with one another about something other than a man. It's essentially what it's about.
Well, there's conversations with Amidala and her servant.
Yeah, in the prequels, she talks a lot with her servants, and they're not having guy talk. They're talking about being decoys or strategy, or go here for me, or do this. And even though it's not earth-shattering stuff, they do. I mean, there's scenes we could pick. I mean, and again, I'm not saying they're great at it.
It's not a ton. It's not.
But think about how hard you have to think to come up with it. I think that's kind of like the point of the test.
Right. Yeah.
I feel you.
Yeah. Interesting.
But I mean, too, the test. There's also been criticism of, making or increasing the validity of the test and the qualitative, measurements for saying, does this actually meet the standard? And I think it's not as simplistic as there's two women talking to each other and they never ever mention a man or what, it's
right, because you could have a whole bunch of film with a whole bunch of girly talk where they're talking about men or whatever, but then also other scenes where two women are talking to each other. Like, can I buy this pack? How much is a pack of gum? Oh, it's honey, it's blah, blah, and they're just two women talking to each other. You could have an example of that.
I think you have to factor in the prominence of the female character to the story, and that prominence having nothing to do with, her comparison to a man or her subservient to a man. Like, how much is she respected? How integral is she to the story and to the goal of the story? And those kinds of things that I think need to factor into the equation as well.
Right.
Because again, also on the flip side, there were well, go ahead, Ron.
No, I was going to say, but I think the whole point of the test is, again, to make it so brain dead simple. And by making it so simple, to have it be that much more poignant that it's hard to come up with movies that pass.
I mean, it is ridiculous that, even though our population is 50% female, and again, like to JD's point, in the world of Star Wars, everybody's an alien. But if you have 50% of the population being female, if you have to struggle that much to find two females talking to each other,
right?
And there's obviously a disparity there,
right?
somewhere.
And you don't have that problem with the men. If you flip it, it's like, oh yeah, of course, every scene is man, male character. And I would say this though, when they're
rarely talking about women.
Yeah,
well, they're talking about sex.
Yeah, yeah, like Luke and Han.
No, but all movies have men talking about
over Leia in Star Wars. Hey, Han. You like my sister? Do you think she's kind of hot? But I would give them props though in the Clone Wars, because in the Clone Wars you get a lot further along with a lot of female characters and a lot of good interaction. Where there's whole arcs in episodes where there's Jedi Padawan, female Padawan that are dealing with things that have nothing to do with talking about guys or whatever. It's all about battle. And and not only that, but they're also Jedi Masters that are female Jedi Masters. But then see, when you get to that point where you're dealing with the women dealing with things, it's more like they're dealing with battles. And usually, if it's an evenly balanced, or I don't even want to say evenly balanced. If there's you have your female characters, but you don't have your male characters, and they're talking about fighting strategies or whatever. Or battle or war or whatnot.
Right.
Usually it's a combination of the man and the woman. But there are times in Clone Wars, I could think of a few, where it's women who are fighting each. There are several actually through the course of that series where you have like long arcs where Ahsoka's fighting Asajj Ventress, or you have the Asajj Ventress and the Women of the Night,
right?
Witches of the Night, or whatever they're called, and then Ahsoka and there's another Padawan. They get trapped when they're in Geonosis, and there's just all these arcs that happen where she deals with female characters. And because one of the tenets about Jedi is like they're basically platonic. They don't have any love attachments per se, or romantic attachments. There's really no room for it in the storytelling. So you see a lot of that in Star Wars, where they're just dealing with the issues of the day in terms of the society and war and culture and yada yada.
Yeah.
So cool. In the Clone Wars, they go. I think they
do a good
really
job.
Yeah, they do a great. I think they do a really good job. Now, again, there's not as many women as men, but there are a number of female characters in the Clone Wars.
Right.
And some of the main heavies in Clone Wars are females. When I say heavies, I mean some of the main characters like Ahsoka, Asajj Ventress,
right?
Princess Amidala, and then you'll get your other spin-off female characters that show up and through the course of the series that pop in and out that aren't the regulars per se.
Right. Cool. Well, I'm looking forward to seeing Rogue One next week.
I know. We already got our tickets.
Oh,
Thursday.
did you really? Wow.
Yeah, went online and got them.
I'm seeing if I can get them. All right. Well, I got to go. I think rehearsal is done. This was good, guys.
All right, man.
Have a great weekend.
All right. You too, man.
Bye.
Bye. Hey, just a reminder, stick around after the credits for that special bonus segment. It's one that we actually aired earlier this year. It's my full conversation with JD and Yolanda about Star Wars fan theories. It's a lot of fun, so be sure to stick around. Breaking the Glass is a radio film school miniseries and a production of Daredreamer FM. Production help from Yolanda Cochran and JD Cochran. Music for this episode was curated from freemusicarchive.org. Links to tracks are in the show notes. And speaking of music, Song Freedom has a huge library of songs from every genre, and they're your best source to license music from mainstream artists like the Lumineers, American Authors, One Republic, and Colby Calais, or classic tunes from the likes of Sinatra, The Temptations, Bob Dylan, and more. Go to songfreedom.com/radio and sign up for a new account, and you'll get a free standard license worth $30. That's songfreedom.com/radio. We thank Song Freedom again for their support. Breaking the Glass is also supported by VideoBox, a subscription service to license premium HD and 4K stock footage. When you go to videobox.com/RFS, you can sign up for a free 7-day trial that'll allow you to download up to 140 clips from their main library. If you like what you see, use that same link and you can get their year plan for as little as $99. The normal rate is $79 a month. You'll get unlimited downloads from their library of over 115,000 clips. You also get access to their marketplace of over 1 million user-generated stock clips at rates as low as $20 to $30 cheaper than other popular stock sites. So remember, that's videobox.com/RFS. You can follow me on Twitter at DareDreamerFM, and you can follow the show at Radio Film School. If you like this episode, share it on Twitter or email it to a friend you know needed to hear this message. And please, be sure to subscribe in iTunes and leave us a rating and review. That's all for this week and for this year. Thank you again for making 2016 so special. Have a happy and safe holiday season, and may the Force be with you. Always. As promised, I'm going to leave you with my full discussion with JD and Yolanda about fan theories as it relates to Rey, Kylo Ren, Han, Princess Leia, and the rest. Also, JD gets into details about some of the Star Wars novels like Heir to the Empire. So if you're not caught up on all of those and you plan to, you may want to hold off on listening to this section. But if you are caught up on all that reading, or like me, you know you just don't have the time to catch up or worry about it, or if you just don't care about being spoiled but get a certain amount of pleasure listening to two grown-ass men geek out like teenagers, then enjoy. Man, it's good to be Bob Iger today.
Yeah.
Yes, for sure.
They could have paid double for a Lucasfilm and still been happy.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got Lucas, Pixar, Marvel.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Wow.
But before Yo goes, I want to be able to get her input on that other topic, which was if she has and JD, you can follow up later when she goes, but if she has a theory about Rey's parenting.
Let's get ready to rumble.
I mean, my feeling in watching The Force Awakens, I mean, my immediate assumption, and didn't think that there should be any other assumption, was that Rey's father is Luke. However, now that we've been having this back and forth debate about it, and I had this sudden, theory that potentially she could be the daughter of Leia and Han, another child of theirs that we just didn't know that they had. I'm now thinking that's a potential thing, but I still really feel like, I felt so strongly watching Force Awakens, and maybe that's entirely what the filmmakers intended to make everybody think and feel, is that she's Luke's daughter.
Right.
So that's all I got. JD has plenty of other things, but I can't, when you guys get to it about, the infamous hug.
That's least of the things.
Yeah. But that actually, once you guys started talking about the hug and what you can explain when, after Han dies and Leia
spoiler
hugs Rey, what all is communicated in that moment. And that's what sparked me to think, oh, what if she's their kid,
But, right.
Which hadn't occurred to me before.
And this is the thing that frustrates me every time I hear people talk about the possibility of her being Han and Leia's kid. And maybe I'm just unique or crazy, but we know that Han and Leia were separated. So during that time, she could have got together with somebody else. She could have married.
Why couldn't she have? Hey, Han showed up one night and they were both horny.
No, I'm not saying that.
A kid. I mean, that happens all the time too.
I'm not saying that's not a possibility. I'm just saying one possibility is that
okay, wait. First of all,
is Ben Solo's sister from another mister.
Got you. I hear that, and that very well could be.
Why is that more probable than her being Han's kid?
You mean Luke's kid?
Han's.
Got you.
It's not. I'm not saying it's more probable. I'm just saying it's another possibility.
It is another possibility.
And
she could also be Jar Jar's kid. That's a possibility. I mean, there's all kinds of possibilities. You've said nothing when you say that, Ron.
A possibility.
I mean, just because they were separated, the fact that they were separated is almost irrelevant.
I'm saying it's a possibility
from a standpoint of having a kid.
I'm saying it's a possibility that is a higher probability than Jar Jar's.
Right. It's a possibility she's Captain Kirk's daughter. It's not. I mean, it's a higher possibility than Jar Jar, but there you go.
Let's not talk about it.
I'm just saying.
Kid.
I'm just saying, but I mean, it's like to say that is saying nothing, because there's all kinds of possibilities, but but let's talk about that scene where
it's making her Skywalker. That's what's key. That's why she would have the Force.
That's what I agree with. Like, I think there's a strong possibility. Here's the thing.
Yeah.
She's either going to be Leia's kid or Luke's kid or nobody's kid.
Really?
Like, that's it. Yeah. Oh, there's the possibility, Ron, that she's either Leia's kid, Luke's kid, or no. Okay. So what are we saying? So
then be somebody's kid that we really care about.
Look, Star Wars is about the Skywalker clan. It's about the Skywalker family, the lineage.
Right.
Now, for me personally, I wouldn't be. I think that the artists that they have working on these films now are great. They're great storytellers, and if it turns out to be Leia's child, I'm sure they're going to treat it with a lot of respect and really get into the story and develop a great story about that. But for my money, I'd rather have it. I think it makes more sense for her to be Luke's child.
Because?
Or I would be more pleased with that being Luke's. Well, because I think, like, first of all, going back to Leia, and Yolanda and I had this discussion. Now, I understand that there are women, for the safety of their children, they'll abandon their kids. But it's not like Leia was without means, that she couldn't keep her child with her and protect her. And I just have a hard time seeing someone who's so devoted, so capable, so morally balanced to just give up her child on the off chance that someone might kill her child, that she just will abandon her or hide her, really abandon her, because she doesn't even know if it is her daughter. We're hard pressed to even know if she knew what was going on with her daughter. I mean, her daughter's wandering around the desert dealing with all, life and death situations that she knows nothing about. So for me, it's hard for me to buy, knowing who Princess Leia is, how stubborn, how determined she is as a person, to just let her child go. I mean, she'd be like, fuck that. I'm keeping my kid. I just can't see her doing that. That doesn't make sense to me. But on the flip side, Luke, there's this whole great story in Legends that we talked about with Mara Jade.
Right.
Mara Jade is all. Now here's the other thing. It seems to me that Rey is strong as heck. Like she's got every bit of amount of force as Kylo Ren.
Sure.
And so, like, to me, it's like, well, Kylo
and then some.
Yeah, and then some. And so Kylo Ren is from Princess Leia has the Force and Han who doesn't. But now, if the Force, the way it works, if you have like two Jedi Force sensitive, or not two Jedi, but two Force really powerful Force sensitive people that make a child, Rey would be that child.
Mm-hmm.
And Mara Jade and Luke are two Force sensitive people.
And and for the people who haven't read the Legends, who's Mara Jade?
Mara Jade was a Force sensitive that the Emperor trained, and her special ability that she had was that she could sense where other Force sensitive people were, so that Emperor could track them down. So she was kind of like a human, or she was a beacon, a
mercenary,
a natural person. She was kind of like an assassin, not even an assassin. She was a spy for him, and she would just go around the galaxy sussing out Force sensitives, and then the Emperor would either kill them or try to change them to use to, you know.
So she was kind of like a metal detector for Jedi.
Exactly.
And how did
and she had
Luke
the Force
get together, JD?
Well, after the way it goes, after Luke destroyed the Emperor and Return of the Jedi,
after the redeemed Darth Vader destroyed the Emperor.
Well, yeah, right.
Together.
But they wouldn't have done. But that wouldn't have happened without Luke.
I know.
You had to have Luke there.
I'm just being facetious.
Yeah, slow your roll, homie. So when that happens, then what you get is Luke is out. They have their adventures in Legend series, and then he comes across Mara Jade, and she's really mad at him and wants to kill him because basically he destroyed her livelihood. Because the one thing about the Emperor, he's always clandestine, so he didn't tell anybody about Mara Jade. She was kind of like one of these Men in Black type characters where she had a carte blanche access to get to the Emperor, but nobody knew who she was, what department she worked for, or you know, where she came from. They just knew that, oh, this is the Emperor's.
What her purpose was.
Yeah, what her purpose was. She was just the Emperor's special envoy to something, but we don't know what. And so when he died, she had like no status in the Empire whatsoever, or what, you know, because even though he died, there were, you know, there's empires scattered all around the galaxy. So, and that's kind of like we were seeing with the First Order is like the reconstitutioning of that empire. And so, but nobody knew who Mara Jade was, and she was mad because she felt like it. She liked the Emperor, and she felt like it destroyed her livelihood, her world, and so she wanted to kill the Jedi that killed her boss, basically. And then she meets up with them, and they have these adventure, whatever. They kind of, and then a fondness, you know, catches between them, and there you have it.
There you have it. And so that is, it was in a book. It was in the books, right?
Yes.
Right. And so when
I think it was an Heir to the Empire. It's a 3-book series. It's pretty fun.
All right. So when Lucasfilm was taken over and the new regime came in, the new order came in, they made a decision to make most, if not all of the books no longer in canon, which for people listening, canon means this is what's technically official in Star Wars story, and everything else is what's now called Star Wars legend. And so the story of Mara Jade is now, quote unquote.
Nerds! But here's the thing. She said nerds.
Nerds. That's
nerds.
That's just tech.
We are two 46 and 47-year-old men arguing about.
We're not arguing. We're debating. We're discussing.
We're having a heated discussion about the merits of Mara Jade versus Mara Jade and Luke Skywalker versus Princess Leia and Han Solo. I said good day, sir.
I said good day. Anyway, so she's legend. Now, we know that they are cherry picking from the list. Like
you said, yeah, they cherry pick from it. So why not pick a great.
They might.
Listen. Before this movie came out, a lot of the geeky, nerdy fans were really into the whole Mara Jade. They're like, man, that'd be great if she shows up. And there was speculation that she was going to show up in The Force Awakens. Like, her and Darth Plagueis is another character that they think Snoke might be.
Right.
But these are a couple of characters from the Legends. There's a ton of Legends material out there, but these are like two of the heavyweights that people are like hoping that they use because they had such rich stories in the Legends series that. And I agree. I think that, that I would love to see that happen. And here's another thing going towards Luke. You talk about, especially with the Clone Wars series, all kinds of Jedi are making their own lightsabers. But the fact that a lightsaber calls Rey, and that lightsaber happens to be Anakin/Luke Skywalker's lightsaber, because it was Luke Skywalker's, but he got it from his father. It was his father's lightsaber when he was a Jedi. True, it was Anakin's old lightsaber. So for that lightsaber, for her to have a Force vision and that lightsaber to call her, now, that means, to me, I think that makes it lean heavily. She's a Skywalker offspring. It could be Leia's, but I would argue that it's Luke's. I mean, I've never seen in all the – I haven't read all the legends, but in all the films that we've seen, all the Clone Wars, I've never seen a lightsaber call anybody.
Right.
I don't think that happen. So that's a big –
That's a good
huge.
point.
That's huge.
That is huge. Regarding one
thing – that's huge. Huge.
One of the theories that they talked about in Jedi Council, John Campea brought this up, is the possibility, and this addresses your issue, JD, about why would Leia abandon her daughter on the planet. I forget the name of the planet right now. Right. That Leia let both Ben and Rey go to Luke's school or whatnot. Ben turns bad, goes to kill most of the people there, except he spares his sister. Because in that Force vision, we see somebody about to kill her, and then a red lightsaber kills the person who we assume is a Knight of Ren, stop her. So one possible theory is that Han and Leia think their daughter is dead at the hand of Ben, and they don't know that she's still alive.
That could be true. That could be true. Yeah. That could be true. That's a good theory. But so, but the thing is, going back to your point, you said, well, when Maz.
Ron, I'm going to say goodbye.
All right. Thanks, Yo. We'll talk more.
See you later.
Yeah.
But then what you said, Ron, about, when Han and Maz Kanata share that look, and she says, well, what's up with the girl? He wouldn't know who she is then. How would he know? How would he know that? I mean, that nullifies your point, because then I don't think Han would know. But I think that Han.
Right.
Oh, one thing though. I said to JD and answers this question. I asked JD, or maybe I asked both of you, like, why would she be on the same planet with the Millennium Falcon? Like he probably knows because like you're here at the Millennium, and then he recognizes I don't know. Anyway, I can't hear you. Bye.
All right.
But So anyways,
that's a good point. Like, why he does seem to know who she is.
Right. But then, but the thing is this:
actually, we don't necessarily know that either. I mean, always in the Force Awakens, all we see, she says, "Who's the girl?" and then the scene cuts to something else. So we don't know his answer. I mean, it's assumed that he knows more. But the answer could just be, "Oh, she's this girl who found
we picked up." Right.
We picked up and found the ship.
Exactly. So, I mean, I don't know. I just have for me, I just think that, I guess I'm really jonesing for the Mara Jade.
Yeah.
I mean, I just think she'd be an incredible character to add to the storytelling.
Yeah, I like your point.
I think, like, here, like, going back to that whole, the Chewie hug or whatever, I thought, like, when I watched the film, I've heard on several occasions, and I tend to agree with this, that was like that wasn't the best directed scene, because I always feel like Chewie always gets a backseat to everything that's going on. Like in Star Wars, he didn't get a medal when that's at the award celebration. Well, what? He was flying the Millennium Falcon too. Like
he's their dog.
Yeah, it's like their dog or something. Like, and then when they find out Han's dead, I really thought when I saw that there was a scene where Leia's with Chewie and Rey. And I think Leia hugs Rey. I could be wrong. I'm not sure. I can't.
When they get back to the base after destroying the Starkiller base, when they get back to the New Alliance base, whatever.
And to me,
the first person Leia hugs is Rey.
Right, and I just thought but they're in a room. Like, aren't they in a side room somewhere? And like Chewie sitting down.
No, it's like on the platform where all the ships landed. They haven't even got inside yet.
Right. But then I thought there was a scene with her, and I have to watch it again because I've only seen it twice. Don't hate for that, but I'm gonna get to. I know,
but we got.
So I'm gonna go. Yeah, and it was a while ago. So in my memory, I thought there was a scene where Leia was with Chewie. It was not when they first arrived, but later on, there's a scene Like, I understand, like, she hugs Rey, and that's fine or whatever when they first get there. But I thought there was a scene later on before Chewie and Rey take off again where you could tell, like, Chewie's upset that Han is dead.
Right.
And I thought he was near Leia or whatever. I just thought if I was making the film, what I would have done, I was expecting to see a shot where Leia gives Chewie a hug. Because, you know, they both loved Han in their way, you know, and I just thought, like, wow, there's no, you know, it was like they were like on the no rest for the weary mode, and they're just like, okay, Han's gone, let's go. And so for her to hug Rey, I mean, she doesn't even really know what Rey went through. I mean, she knows it was a hard time, whatever, and Han's not there, but I just thought that was, I don't know, it just didn't play as true to me. It's kind of weird.
Yeah, I'm going to have to see that again, too. Another theory that's starting to rise, and this is something that I thought about when I saw the Rogue One trailer, is the possibility of Jen being Rey's Rey's mother. Jen is the star of Rogue One,
right?
Because one, they look alike; they both have British accents.
Yes, yep.
And she's old enough in this time period in the timeline to be her mother. Yeah. And I would just say that also another thing that I try to always remind myself is that I heard, you know, theories 7 Way to Sunday before The Force Awakens came out about what it was going to be, what the storyline was, and everybody was wrong. Everybody had great theories, and, you know, or not everybody, but I heard some really good ones. I heard some really wacky ones, and nobody had it right. I didn't hear anybody that had the story pegged. So, I mean, you know, no one was talking about a Supreme Ruler Snoke or, you know, the characters that we came to know. You know, we'd slowly start hearing about Kylo Ren or whatever, but everybody was off. And everybody had great ideas, but they were just off. So I always try to remind myself that, because who knows what they're going to come up with. I mean, because the thing is, if Rey is not one of the Skywalkers, I'd be cool with that too. I mean, that seems like that would be – I mean, she's a great character, so wherever they go with it, I trust their storytelling judgment. We're gonna like it. I just think that for my money, I would also love to see it. Would also, another thing about her being Luke's kid is that Luke, you have the whole Jedi dogma and philosophy where they're not supposed to have any material possessions that bound them to anything. They're supposed to be these. They're not supposed to have those type of attachments. That's the Jedi dogma. So I could almost not that Luke is just going to foist his daughter away, but it also lends to that whole philosophy about especially if he feels she's threatened or whatever, like out of anybody, he would be one that would be able to relinquish custody of his daughter or to leave her or to hide her somewhere. But again, like even if it like someone's saying like if like I like the idea of somebody taking Leia's child and they don't know who she is, because I can't see Leia knowing and just leaving her kid the way she did. If she did know, she would leave her with somebody like how she was left with Bail Organa, like how she became right. She wouldn't just leave her in the dirt somewhere. I mean, she would set her up somewhere, some obscure place with some well-to-do person that could keep track of her. Now, maybe she did do that, and maybe something else happened, and the girl got kidnapped or whatever. We just don't know. But I just think that I don't know. So there's those possibilities. I mean, that could be good. Where someone, that could be very interesting. If somebody, with the Knights of Ren, if somebody, spares her or hides her and whisk her away, and then Leia doesn't know. But the thing is, if they find all these dead bodies with the Knights of Ren, but they don't find her daughter, there's got to be a thought like, well, somebody took my daughter, as opposed to they just didn't kill her and leave her here with all the other dead people. Right. So, but again, going back to the theory that Kylo Ren actually did rescue her and save her, and he's the one responsible for putting her on. Is it Django's the name of the planet, or Django?
Oh, Jakku.
Jakku, right. In the Force Awakens, when that commander comes to Kylo and reports that Finn was seen with some girl, Kylo Ren reacts to that.
Yes.
As if the fact that he specifically mentioned that it was a girl has some meaning, or that it's insinuating that he knows either who the girl is, or there's something about the fact that he mentions that. So again, that could that could jive with Kylo saving his sister from being killed, dropping her off there, and then realizing now, so many years later, that she's the one who's running off with the plans.
Yeah. So yeah, it could be. Those are all kind of viable theories. We just have to wait and see what they do.
But I loved your last point, and I think that's a good place to end, where you said we could all be wrong, because you're right.
Yeah. I mean, I heard 7 Ways to Sunday, all these theories, and everybody was just wrong, and so we're going to have to wait and see, because I know that, like you said, they're cherry picking from legends. Just, who knows what they're going to come up with? Nobody saw Snoke, but I think, like, I read the Darth Plagueis novel, and it was great, and it would be awesome if Snoke turned out to be Plagueis. But if he's not, he'll be a new character. Maybe they'll imbibe some of what Plagueis had into Snoke. They already have. I mean, he's kind of like that. And so yeah, I whatever they come up with, I think it's going to be. I think we'll be happy. I think we're in good hands. First of all, Rian Johnson is, I just think, an awesome filmmaker. So I can't wait to see 8. Brick was one of my favorite films, indie films. So I thought it was just amazing what he did with that. I think his other subsequent films have been really good. So I look forward to it.
You're listening to Dare Dreamer FM, the sound of creative expression.
Ah!